Okay, my name's Tripp Foster. I'm in the Gray Hill community near the Gray Hill Community Center, specifically at Gray Hill School Road. In the distance here, you can see a phone box next to a telephone pole. And if you pan the camera over just this way, you can see a metal street sign down there right about where that white car is passing. There's an Ellen Gilmore sign right there, and I had a large 3-foot by 4-foot Tripp Foster for Troup County Commission District 3 sign. At approximately 9:21 p.m. on Wednesday, August 15th, under darkness, I noticed a car turning in the curve, and it was Bill Gilmore driving a little Toyota car with Ellen Gilmore for commissioner magnets on the doors. As it was turning by, it proceeded in a hasty manner on past me. Well, I knew that the dump was closed and it was behind the Gray Hill building, and I noticed Mr. Gilmore turned into the lot. There had been rumors in the neighborhoods about missing campaign signs, including mine, and a lot of the people in the Gray Hill community were saying that they suspected Bill Gilmore of doing this. And so I had known that mine had started missing, so my curiosity got the best of me, and me and another eyewitness walked up to the truck, drove into the driveway, and parked right where you see my pickup truck right now. It was under the cover of darkness with a dim light over where I parked. We immediately proceeded across the lawn this way, and we followed by the Gray Hill School building across the property. As we walked across the property, we proceeded to the rear of the building so that we could get a better view of what Mr. Gilmore might be doing down in the trash compactor area. Again, I want to remind you this center was closed and gates locked at these times. Upon getting to the rear of the property where we had a clear view of Mr. Gilmore, we did observe that the gates were locked in the convenience center, or as most people in the community call it, the inconvenience center now, was closed at this time. All right?
All right, let's go look and see where you were watching from.
All right. Okay, what you see here to my left is the back side of the Gray Hill Community Center. For whatever reason, the security lighting, if there is any that works anymore, it was not working that night. We were under the cover of darkness as we proceeded to the back to try to get a more accurate view on what Bill Gilmore was actually doing at the Gray Hill Inconvenience Center. As I approached this rear side of the lawn and I was coming to the edge of the hill under the cover of darkness, I noticed a high-power security light that's at the Inconvenience Center that throws light across the dumpster areas, and also upon the parking lot in front of the old Gray Hill Volunteer Fire Station number 7 that belongs to Troup County. In the distance, pan on that, you can see what's a piece of a Ron Paul sign that Mr. Gilmore had placed down there in the past. There's a blue box immediate behind it that turns out it's a well covered up that belongs to Troup County. It's for the fire station. One of the other news agencies mistakenly reported it as not being county property according to the Troup County Marshal's Department. They were found to be in error on that. That is on county property. A warning citation, which I don't understand why it was a warning, was issued, most specifically since Mr. Gilmore did admit to these law enforcement officers, according to their citation and their personal testimony, that he did go into that area at the above said date and time on August the 15th under the cover of darkness after 9:20 p.m. and went down into the woods, and he only admitted to placing 2 Westmoreland signs. Video evidence proves that there were multiple Westmoreland signs and many other signs. And there's further evidence that suggests that these Westmoreland signs had been there for a while because they were paper with laminate, they were sopping wet. There were all the new signs that we saw Mr. Gilmore carry and place on top of these. In the distance was where Mr. Gilmore's car was into the opening where you see the blue box. He pulled his Toyota car with Ellen Gilmore magnets on the doors to that spot with his headlights on what appeared to be on bright, shining into the woods. He then proceeded to open his trunk and carry all these items out to that area in the vegetation and begin piling them up.
So you were standing up here watching him get these items out of the trunk?
Absolutely.
And could you tell what the items were?
Another eyewitness. There were 2 of us here watching this.
Could you tell what the items were by standing up here?
Yes, from standing up here with the bright security light shining at Mr. Gilmore, also with the aid of his bright lights on his car, Mr. Gilmore appeared to be carrying what looked like election signs down there to the bottom area and to the wooded area. So upon discovering that, we tried to keep a low profile as not just to scare him off, to let him finish his dirty deeds. And we immediately called 911, reported what we saw happening. They sent a sheriff's officer en route who arrived on the location shortly after Mr. Gilmore vanished. Well, we did not want to go down there until law enforcement arrived because we didn't want to be accused of tampering with the scene. So we proceeded down there to the bottom with the law enforcement officer, with video going, and filmed exactly what our fears were. It was election signs. Fortunately, in my case, there were no Tripp Foster signs down there this time, but there were specifically Dee Williams signs, who happens to be a business lady from the West Point community, who happens to be African American, and her election signs were down there. Dee's running as a Democrat for the District 3 Commission seat for the November 6th election, and hopefully Dee's going to be my opponent in that election. But they happened to have Dee Williams signs down there, had Diane Matthews for school board, Lynn Westmoreland, Pizzold, Larry Harris, another African-American gentleman who had just run an unsuccessful race for probate judge here in Tripp County, and many other election signs down there at the time.
But you weren't able to tell which signs he was getting out of his trunk when you were standing up here?
No, without a high optic lens or some type of telescope, it was virtually impossible for me with the naked eye at nighttime under the cover of darkness to read exactly what was on the signs at the time. I did notice the colors on one sign that really stood out to me that he was carrying, and it was the pink and green color sign that really stood out in the light, which turned out to be the Dee Williams signs, and it also turned out to be the only one of that color pattern once we went down there with law enforcement.
Okay, why don't we walk down there and you can tell me what happened from there.
All right. What you see now is the Gray Hill Inconvenience Center, located off Gray Hill School Road, adjacent to the rear side of the Gray Hill Community Center. My name's Tripp Foster, and we're down here on the scene. Where you see my Chevy four-wheel drive truck parked is approximately in virtually the same spot that Bill Gilmore's car was parked. Had the headlights facing into the wooded area, just into an approximate 8-foot opening into the vegetation under the cover of darkness. Now, for demonstration purposes, we came in the daytime so we could let you see a little bit better what we saw that night. First of all, you see the election signs are all gone now. None of them are on the ground. But what you'll be able to do through video on the Citizen website is you'll be able to see good still shot video of the signs, and you'll also get to see moving video and a little narrative that I made that night with sheriff deputies present. What you see right here is a makeshift center to feed stray animals. I think that's a great thing. It's humane. The Humane Society likes to care for animals, but unfortunately, Mr. Gilmore didn't have a permit nor authority to come on county property, which he says the marshals weren't sure about. First of all, this blue box that we're going to come in on in just a moment is a well covered up that belongs to the Tripp County government. This well is for the building behind me, which is the Tripp County Volunteer Fire Station number 7, okay? So just so the citizens will know that are looking at the citizen, they'll understand that this is still on county property, as Mr. Gilmore said was false. Notice you see the water jugs here, the board, the spoon. You see that. You see a little pan here. You see some other plates and trash that's still left on county property that's still illegal dumping. You see a trash can with a lot of cat food cans. While I think it's great and I think it's humane to care for God's animals, I also think that doing things without permission on government property is illegal, like the county codes do say. I think it also poses safety and sanitation hazards, and actually hazards for the people around when animals can become rabid or become unclean.
Okay, what happened that night when you met the officer down here?
All right, when I met the officer that night, this appeared to be a dog house under the cover of darkness. There was a spotted dog that appeared to have maybe some blue heeler in it that kept coming out aggressive out of here. I believe Mr. Gilmore might have been feeding him while he was down here putting these signs up. Mr. Gilmore has paraphernalia here that's associated with what he claimed about feeding cats and animals, and this dog possibly could have been still feeding and didn't want us around his food. So the deputy advised me not to come any closer than where the signs were. The signs were piled all right here. The Westmoreland and Pizzold signs were on the ground, and then all of the new signs that he was taking out of the trunk were right here on top of the ground. Now, the dog wouldn't let us get any closer than this, and in the other video that's been submitted to the citizen, you'll see what the signs actually look like, hear a little audio and what was going on that night. You'll also see a little video and camera work from the following day when the Marshal's Department and the CID Division of the Sheriff's Department came on the scene to investigate. What you see here is some Ron Paul signs. You see that they're placed right here up against this makeshift box. You see some metal signs up here that belong to the government. They are a warning clearance sign that says verify your vehicle height, made of aluminum. You see 2 more signs. You see one of which is, and it has bowls with water in it, whatnot, a handicap parking permit. I'm sure there's somebody handicapped wouldn't appreciate that. You also see a visitors only state business, no state employees, 2-hour parking sign. That's right here. all aluminum, put on top of here. That was placed for this shelter that Mr. Gilmore has admitted to feeding animals at. All right, and this is on county property. What this is a heavy-duty box. It's a box covering up what appeared to be an old well that supplies water for the building for the county.
Okay, what happened the next day when you came back out here and met the officers?
All right, when I came out the following morning and met the Tripp County Sheriff's Department investigator and the Tripp County Marshal Animal Control Officer, Mr. Brooks, and also the Code Enforcement Officer for the Marshal Department, Officer Jim McLaughlin, they came out here to the scene. Of course, they saw the signs that were in place. They saw this box here. They saw the aluminum signs. They saw the pet feeding area right here in this area. One thing that is a fact, Bill Gilmore was in this area between 9:20 and 9:30 on the night of Wednesday, August the 15th. That is a fact. Number two thing, Bill Gilmore has admitted to being down in this area. He claimed he was feeding animals. He further stated to the marshals, according to their reports, that he did put a couple of Westmoreland signs. Video evidence that I submitted to the citizens shows there are multiple Westmoreland signs and P-Zold that were on the ground, that were laying right here in this area, that were sopping wet. They had mud and dirt all over the bottom of them, suggesting they had been there through a rain and for a while. The other signs were on top. They were completely dry and they had just been piled there. Secondly, the signs that were on top were not wet at all. And thirdly, there's no way those signs would have been as wet on the bottom if those plastic signs had been on there prior to the night that we're telling you about on Wednesday, August the 15th. Mr. Gilmore says this is a lie. He quoted to the LaGrange Daily News that if Tripp Foster said that, Tripp Foster's a liar. Guess what, Bill Gilmore? Video evidence suggests that you did this. Physical evidence suggests that you did this. Your own testimony proves that you were on this crime scene, a crime that the Sheriff's Department elected not to prosecute, okay? And we're going to get to that at a later time. But for right now, everything suggests you were here, including your own testimony. You said that you only did 2 Westmoreland signs. You're a liar, okay, if that's what you really said. Evidence shows otherwise.
What happened when you met the officers here that morning? What was the outcome of that meeting?
During the time of the investigation with Tripp County Marshal's Department in conjunction with the Tripp County Sheriff's CID Division, they started talking to various people in the community. First of all, they went to the gentleman who was running the Inconvenience Center on that day while it was open, and he stated to Charles Nixon, the investigator of the Tripp County Sheriff's Department, that he did not direct anybody to go down into these woods and put signs. It was initially suggested that it was a possibility that citizens were depositing these signs all in this one spot because the county had potentially designated it as a sign reclamation area. That turned out to be false. Tripp County Warden Shane Morris was contacted by Charles Nixon on site by telephone. He said that was not true. He has never told anybody, his employees or guards or correction officers, to put signs down there. There was no physical sign posting telling residents to come to the Inconvenience Center and bypass the sanitation area and come here to the woods and deposit people's election signs on county property, okay? Thirdly, there's never been an ad or any kind of publication or announcement whatsoever by the Tripp County government telling people to come to the inconvenience centers in Tripp County and deposit their unwanted election signs or ones that they find on the side of the road at this location. There's only one that's never really been advertised. However, it has a small sign which is located at the prison camp off of Hamilton Road. It's a sign reclamation bin for candidates to come and get their election signs as they're picked up off the county right-of-ways by county employees and inmates. So this was not an official area, and when we show you video from the top of the hill at the entrance momentarily, you will see that this area is virtually undetectable from the top of the hill. It was in the cover of darkness, well lit by security light and Mr. Gilmore's headlights. The gates were locked and closed. Mr. Gilmore proceeded down here on county property to do an illegal act, and that's by what's called A, illegal dumping, B, being in possession of signs that did not belong to him, that he did not purchase, and C, had signs in his possession that he did not have the authority to possess, several of which belong to D.D. Williams, a current candidate for Tripp County Commission, District 3.
Do you have actual proof that he was in possession of signs that didn't belong to him? Were you able to see from the top of the hill up there that he had, which specific signs he had?
No, based on just using the human eye, we were able to tell it was Bill Gilmore because we followed Bill Gilmore almost to this location. We watched him come down to this location. Me and another eyewitness watched him raise his trunk. We watched him come to this spot back and forth carrying materials which appeared to be campaign signs. My other witness that was with me saw specifically Bill Gilmore carry these signs out of the trunk. I was in disbelief. I almost couldn't believe that it was unfolding before my eyes. I wanted to come down here and confront him on video, but being of the nature of the person that Bill Gilmore has been told to me to be, I didn't want to confront him without law enforcement.
You said that you were able to make out the colors on one sign from the top of the hill up there?
Right. It appeared to be, pink and green in color, which there's only one campaign candidate that had those type of signs that I'm aware of, and it turned out to be what video of it showed. It was D.D. Williams' signs.